Okay, hey everybody. Okay, now we're up in the mountains. We're not very far into the mountains. Like I always say, the transition between urban and rural in Japan is drastic, especially in this area. So we're outside the city. This is really kind of the first little village along the way, although it's not really, I really still think of this as part of the city. But I'm going to pull off to the side here, and we'll take a look and see if we can see any signs of activity in the village itself. Now, in the other communities downtown, we'll be seeing some sort of a gathering typically going on at the local shrine, and there'll be activities going on. You'll see life basically happening around you in anticipation of that. So we'll just drive through slowly and see what's going on. Let's roll the window down. We can hear any sounds. See some just houses. Pretty dark. As I said in the first video, I kind of don't expect to find much. A lot of the people who live out here are oldsters. Here's the Koban, the police station. Light there. I don't even see a police officer there. This guy's got, there's some illumination, as it's called, Christmas lights. This little store here, it's a fish market. It's totally dark. Some Christmas lights here. See, one of the things about this area is that it still has kids. We're still within the area where people have children, because people in the high mountains, one of the reasons nobody wants to live there is that it's a rotten place to raise kids, because there are no other kids. In the schools, wow, oh, that's pleasant. Let me just back up for a second, see if I can get a glimpse of that real quick for you guys. Can you see this? Look at this with the Shimenawa. Isn't that nice? You see it right there? Shimenawa, the hanging, New Year's rope. And here over here, there's a store. I think this is a rice store. All closed up. I mean, it's just closed up for the day, probably for the next couple of days. But those high mountain places. Oh, here, wait, here. Here's a store. Speaking of abandoned stuff, this would be a good one for the Abandoned Japan channel. This is a store that I used to come to for a long time when I would come up in the mountains. I'd always stop here. This old couple would take care of me. They've since closed the store. You can see it's just nothing other than skeletal remains of a store. Still have the Kamidana up there, and they operate a few vending machines. Well, that's it. Here's the end of the village. Nothing much. What I was saying before about the kids, rotten place to raise kids. It's certainly not a terrible place in terms of, it's beautiful, magnificent, great place to raise kids in the outdoors, but there's no other families, with children, and the services for families is very, very limited. You know what I mean? Okay, now we're going to leave this. We're going to head up and start heading our way up into the true mountains, for me at least. Take care, everybody. See you in a minute.